Claude Code can't generate images, ask it for a picture, and it apologizes, then offers you an SVG instead. In this video, I'm going to show you how to fix that, so you can ask for an image in plain English, right inside Claude Code, and get a real PNG dropped into your project. No tool switching, no command to memorize. Let's get into it. Now, the first thing to understand is why this happens. Claude Code is a coding harness. It edits files, runs commands, reasons about your code base. Image generation was just never wired into that toolset. The model underneath can reason about images perfectly well. The harness around it simply has no tool to make one. So Claude does the honest thing and tells you it can't. On the other hand, Codex, OpenAI's coding agent, went the other way. Back in April, they shipped GPT Image 2, a purpose-built image model, and exposed it through a built-in skill you trigger with $imagergen. You describe what you want, Codex generates it, sizes it, and saves it. Native. So the capability you want already exists. It's just sitting in the tool next door. So let me show you the problem first. Here I'm asking Claude Code to generate a high-quality 3D cartoon-style lighthouse on a clean light pastel background centered in the frame, and watch what happens. It tells me, and I'm quoting, "I don't have an image generation model wired into this environment," and offers to hand me an editable SVG instead. So it writes out an SVG file, and here's the kicker, it can't even export that to a PNG because the sandbox has no converter installed. So you ask for an image, and you walk away with a vector file you can't open as a picture. That's the shrug. And the usual move from here is to Alt-Tab over to Codex, generate it there, copy the path back, and lose your place in the process. But here's the thing, you don't have to leave. OpenAI ships an official Codex plugin that runs Codex inside a Claude Code session. Most people use it for code review, but it's really a general bridge to Codex, and one of its commands, Codex Rescue, can hand an arbitrary task over to Codex and let it run. So the obvious question is, if the plugin gives me Codex inside Claude Code, and Codex has image gen, can I get a real image generated without ever leaving the window? Let's try it. So I call Codex Rescue and tell it, in plain words, to use the image gen skill to generate that lighthouse. Claude routes the task over to the Codex Rescue subagent. Codex wakes up, takes the job, and starts working in the background. The terminal never loses focus. The session I'm in never breaks. A couple of minutes later, it reports back, "Task completed successfully." The image should be sitting in your working directory. Great. Proof of concept. Done. Except for one problem. But there's a catch. The image Codex made isn't in your project at all. It generated a real PNG, then dropped it into its own generated images cache under a random file name instead of your working directory. So you turn around and ask Claude Code to go find it. Locate the newest file in that cache, confirm it's your lighthouse, and copy it into the project. The capability is real, and it runs in session. It just leaves you cleaning up after it by hand. So that's what I built. It's a small skill called codex-imagegen, and it wraps that whole messy path into something that responds to how you'd actually ask. You install it once, and then you just ask for the image, the same plain sentence you'd have typed anyway. No Codex Rescue, no command to memorize. Let me show you. Installing it is one line. If you're in Claude Code, you can add it as a plugin from my Agent Skills Marketplace. Or, the way I'm doing it here, you can use the Open Agent Skills CLI with a single command shown right here on screen. It copies the skill in, and that's it. Installed. One prerequisite. The skill rides on Codex, so you need either the Codex plugin in Claude Code or the Codex CLI installed locally. A quick global install, then a login. And if neither runtime is there, the skill tells you exactly what to install instead of failing silently. Now watch the same sentence from the very beginning. Generate a high-quality 3D cartoon-style lighthouse on a clean light pastel background. I half expected to have to type a / command. Instead, Claude just reads the intent, loads the codex-imagegen skill on its own, and runs the bundled script. It hands off to Codex, GPT Image 2 does the work, and here's the result. A real, finished PNG, a clean 1024 by 1024 image, saved to a dedicated .codex image folder. Not loose at your project root, not buried in a cache. The same words that earned a shrug 5 minutes ago. Now here's the part I think actually matters more than the convenience. Because the skill triggers on plain intent instead of a hard-coded command, it stops being something only you invoke. It becomes a building block other skills can call. Picture a publishing workflow that notices a finished post has no featured image, writes a prompt from the title, calls codex-imagegen, and drops the result in the right folder. No human in the loop, or a project scaffolder that fills in placeholder icons as it sets up a repo, or a slide deck builder that generates a custom illustration for every section. The principle is simple. A capability wrapped as a natural language skill becomes composable. Image generation goes from a manual detour you take by hand to a primitive your automations just reach for. And that's the whole shift. Claude Code image generation going from impossible here to just ask in the span of one small skill. It's open source. I'll put the install commands and all the links in the description. So go install it, open your next project, and ask for the image you need in plain English. Then watch it land a couple of minutes later. And if you like this kind of content, give the video a like and subscribe. Otherwise, go build something and tell me what came out.